Sweating.
Anthony, this is just a reminder that we are broadcasting live, both with audio and video.
Why are you sitting so close to me?
All right, we're ready.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Abington Heights School Board meeting for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. Would everyone please rise and pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. It's nice to see a lot of good faces. Ms. O'Day, can we please have roll call?
Mr. Abdullah?
Here.
Mr. Azar? Mrs. Henderson?
Here.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Here.
Mrs. Karam? Mr. Moran? Mr. Robeson?
Here.
Mrs. Tierney?
Here.
Mr. Acker?
Here.
6 present.
Thank you very much. Can I please have a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting tonight?
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
And Mr. Acker.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
May I please have a motion to approve the minutes from the meetings of July 17th and August 7th?
So moved. Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
And Mr. Acker.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you very much. We're going to depart a little bit tonight. Representative Haddock is here to make a presentation, and we thought it would be best to do that right at the start of the meeting. So, Representative Haddock, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I am the state representative in the 118th district, and as such, I have half of my district is located in Luzerne County, and half of my district is located in Lackawanna County. So I have 9 towns in Lackawanna County that I represent, and so I have a fair area that I cover that cover Abington Heights School District. So I'm very happy to be here at the first school board meeting as state representative. I'd first like to say to the board real quick, thank you for what you do, because I started my political career as a member of the Pittston Area School Board some 30-some years ago, and they were trying times when we tried to balance the budget. And I always worry about the kids, because that's what we're here for. So thank you. Sometimes you may not hear that as board members, but I certainly appreciate that. Secondly, in the House of Representatives, we are very fortunate the last 2 years that there's a new direction in the House. Some of the people in the audience may not know it, but some school districts sued the state of Pennsylvania because the state of Pennsylvania was not living up to the Constitution of Pennsylvania's call to properly fund public education. Pennsylvania's failure put pressure on this board and boards across the 500 school districts because they had to come up with the money to keep the schools going. The good news is we fight now to get the money back to the school districts, and then the school districts will be able to do 2 things. One, take care of the students and hopefully expand programs that are needed. And then secondly, once we publicly funded enough from Harrisburg, we can hopefully address property tax issues where the school board won't be having to carry the heavy load that
Thank you for your service.
But today, we read the newspaper in the office, and I saw a few months ago this school district's powerlifting team, the girls' powerlifting team for the nationals. And I was greatly impressed when I saw that 5 members of this school district competed, and we had one actually win a national championship. And I couldn't let that slide. We have to celebrate our victories in schools all across Pennsylvania, but I like to make sure that in my district we celebrate those. So I was able to have this proclamation for the members of the school team, and it reads, "The House of Representatives of Pennsylvania takes great pleasure in recognizing outstanding achievement realized by the youth of this nation and this great state, the spirit of personal sacrifice, commitment, and a common goal in unity of purpose. And whereas the Abington Heights School girls powerlifting team is being honored for capturing first place in the classic varsity female division during the 2024 powerlifting America High School National Championships. And whereas under the expert guidance of Coach Claude Welcome, the Abington Heights Schools girl powerlifting team distinguished themselves at the national level. Throughout the season, the team and members displayed the utmost sportsmanship and have become a great symbol of community pride. Now therefore, the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania pay special tribute to the coaches and the members of the Abington Heights girls powerlifting team, and as well as all those who assisted them during this well-deserved recognition and championship win. We acknowledge the investment of the skill and efforts competing on a level which demands perfection, and we extend wishes for future success and personal fulfillment. Sponsored by the Honorable James L. Paddock, and this is to be transmitted to the Abington girls powerlifting team and the school board. So, copies. Yes, I already gave the coach his. Coach, sir. If I could, President of the school board. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Because I know, besides the hard work, you all provide the money. You keep the coach happy because he needs the equipment to keep them safe. So thank you for supporting.
Representative Haddock, thank you very much. And you know, ladies, it's well-deserved award. I would just like to add one minor note. Your coach, of course, you probably all say that Coach Welcome is probably the best coach you may have had. I just want you to know that while he's a good powerlifting coach, he's actually a better soccer coach. And he, not only that, he quickly, as a soccer coach, realized where the direction of the team had to go. So every Mother's Day, when his team had a soccer game, he would pass out roses to all the mothers. So, Coach Welcome, congratulations as powerlifting coach and as a soccer coach. Okay. With that, are there any board reports?
Everybody okay back there in the back row? Shall I go? Yes. Keep it moving.
We will wait for.
Our fearless leader.
Okay.
Yeah, very well. It's short. It's a short one.
You said it was short?
Her report's usually longer than my thesis.
Sometimes longer than the meeting.
Just for that, let me add a few things. Hold on. It's not that long. It's an outline.
Whenever you're ready. They, Mr. Acker said that we would wait for you.
Colleen said she would.
Congratulations, Mrs. Leonard.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Mrs. Henderson, we understand you have something to report.
Why, yes, I have a curriculum committee report from Wednesday, August 14th. Comprehensive goal number 1, the only thing we have to report in terms of that goal is that OGAP training is going to continue throughout this year. Comprehensive goal number 2, for our science curriculum writing, the board has approved grades 1 through 5 and 6 through 8, and the resources have been purchased for grades 1 through 5, and it is our hope that after tonight, we will be able to purchase the materials for our programs in grades 6 through 8. No, I thought I had that in there.
That was old.
Okay, that was an old one. I take that back. 1 through 8 have been purchased. 9 through 12, it's board approved, resources to be purchased after tonight's approval. Okay, very well. Comprehensive goal number 3, school climate. Dr. Vitale will be sharing our climate data in just a few minutes, so I will give you the abridged version. They created a PBIS handbook so that everyone literally will be on the same page with what PBIS is, what it looks like at each grade level, and what it looks like in each different area of the building. Middle school is looking at different ways to reinvent the monthly, quarterly blowouts or celebrations, or looking at different things such as raffles, possible karaoke, and we talked about the potential of helping to lighten the loads on our student, faculty and staff, and having some PTA and parent committee members come in and help assist with some of those things. It's also being done on the high school level. Something new that's being done this year is we hired residents, educational consulting. We'll be doing a 3-pronged approach in which social emotional learning will be embedded throughout the school day. All of the teachers at the middle and high school level are going to receive training. There's going to be small group committees for teachers and also small group leadership committees for students. So social emotional learning, I know it's something that has been done for years and years. It's been relabeled as character ed, character development. It's basically just looking for ways to embed these skills into the school days, pointing out things that students are already doing and kind of looking at different areas to firm up. Some of the things would be trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, loyalty, just honesty, gratitude, taking all of those skills and just embedding them into the school day. So there's going to be workshops for the teachers, and that will filter down into the entire student population. We are also looking at revamping the social studies curriculum this school year. Mr. Chris Calder is going to lead the way for the high school component. Mr. Tom Evans is going to be our middle school representative. They're going to be working with Dr. Vitale on just looking at things that are how social studies is being taught, looking at ways, to kind of update and revamp certain parts of the curriculum. Currently, In the elementary school, we do not have a formal social studies program. It's currently being taught in different components of wit and wisdom. So we are looking at a new way to kind of enhance what is being done on the elementary level in terms of social studies. So, gifted screenings. We talked about this at the last meeting, that there's going to be a universal screener for all students in grade 2. And we are continuing to look at the MTSS, which is the multi-tiered support system for students, just looking at different ways that we can support our students throughout the school day. In June, our educators receive professional development in artificial intelligence, and we are also adopting a new retention protocol in grades K through 8th. So, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Now, part 2. No, just kidding, I'm done.
Are there any other committee reports? Mr. Robeson?
Mr. Acker, thank you. We did have our IT meeting the same day, Wednesday, the 14th. We completed a number of projects. The IT group, as small as it is, they do wonderful work. They implemented Clever. It's a way for our youngest students to log in using a QR code instead of taking the time to make a username and password, and as you can imagine, that could take a while. So using the QR code makes things more efficient and safe. We completed our migration of Active Directory, which helps single sign-on, so you only need one username and password to get in most applications, not all of them, but most. We implemented Linkit, which is taking all the data from all the assessment tools that we have, and test scores and everything like that, and integrate it so we can analyze it more efficiently. And most notably, we purchased our 600 new Chromebooks for the 5th and 9th grade, and I presented that plan early, and so that we're executing on that. So this year we'll begin that new Chromebook distribution. We also have 2 carts of 30 in each of the elementary schools. And probably the most impressive, and I talked a little bit about this in our last meeting, was we completed phase 1 of our camera installation, so we have 109 cameras. We have a real big one coming on the corner of the high school near the field. So if you're on the grounds of Abington Heights, just smile and wave because you're on camera. And so the storage, well, for security reasons, I won't say how long the storage is, but we have the capability of storing quite a bit for quite a long time. And then just some of the new stuff that we're talking about doing is e-hall pass, which makes it a little more, let's say, reasonable and more effective for students to be in the halls while class is going on. So we can get ahead of maybe some congregations in the bathrooms and things like that. So there's some technology that can help with that. And also, we're looking at, and this is pretty significant, refreshing our displays and our whiteboards in the classrooms. So that's a big investment. So we're trying to figure out what the right way to do it is, because some people like displays, some people like whiteboards, some people like smart boards. So we're trying to do the right thing depending on some preferences. But a lot going on in IT. I want to thank the board for approving the funds to do some of this cool stuff. And we're always working on performance. It's something that it's not just a quick fix, buying faster equipment or anything like that. It's network, it's switches, it's all these things that we invested in. And we've seen improvement, but we're not satisfied with where we're at. And so we're looking to get better over the next year. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you for the good work of the IT committee. You guys have really, really done a wonderful job. Any other committee reports? Okay. What I'd like to do now is have public comment. If anyone would like to speak to the board, please step forward. Okay. In that particular case, we'll move on to the superintendent's report, and Dr. Schaefer and Dr. Vitale.
All right, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Vitale. Last board meeting, we provided the board and public with data from our climate survey relative to cell phone use. the perceptions of our students, as well as our parents and teachers. And now Dr. Vitale will be presenting the data from our third district-wide climate survey.
Thank you, everyone. So it's a lot of numbers, it's a lot of charts. We're going to talk about some specific areas, and then this will be located on our website should you want to review it. So first of all, I just need to start every time that we talk about surveys. We all receive surveys and emails and after doctor's visits or all different times, so we probably receive 10 surveys, if not more, a week for us to fill out, and I'm sure most of us roll our eyes at them. This survey matters. So this survey is incredibly important, and we spend a lot of time looking at it. So I personally read every single response and really dig in, and I can tell you at the building level, they're reading it, understanding it, and trying to be responsive and reflective of what people are saying. So for the people who fill it out, thank you. Please continue to fill it out, because truly, your voice does matter. So when we look at our response rate, our students, we had more than 73% of our middle school and high school students take the survey. We're working on leveraging more of our high school students next year and how to do that and get them to be engaged in the survey. It's a little bit easier at the middle school just because of just how the teams are built and the time is built. Parent responses, we had over 1,000 parents respond, which is about 30% of our families, which is fantastic. A 30% response rate is impressive. It doesn't seem like a nice number, but truly it is an effective amount to look at statistical data. And then faculty and staff, more than 88% of our personnel filled this out. So I believe that we really have a comprehensive look at kind of the data and the questions that we have. So the necessary conditions for excellence, and excellence is always our focus. I just kind of wanted to give you guys some information that we're going to be presenting our data just a little bit differently than how we've done in the past. So on September 18th and October 2nd, we're going to do data presentations based on our achievement data on PSSA's Keystones and AP scores. Building level leadership will be doing that, so that is to come. Departments, I'm going to present what each department's goals are and how we're going to move departments forward. I will do that on October 16th. And today we're going to dig into climate. So you're going to have a whole bunch of presentations on kind of what we're working with and what we're working on. So when we look at the climate responses at the high school, so this is a chart to show you in comparison to parents, students, and teachers of what they responded to these questions. These are not the only questions that we asked. I kind of parsed them down into what we're really focused on. And I would say that feeling of belongingness is incredibly important to us. So that's why that's highlighted. And we want our parents, our teachers, and our students to feel that they belong in the high school, to be a part of that community. And you can see that the numbers are 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, which isn't horrible, but I would say if you talk to Dr. Sioni, Mr. Bicchetti, and Mr. Huffman, they would want to see that improve. We have seen improvement over the years, but we would want to continue to grow that, and you will see this reflected in their goals moving forward. Before I move on, does anybody want time to reflect on this or talk about it? It's a lot of information. Okay, so same chart, just for the middle school. The middle school spent a lot of time building community, and they continue to focus on that and making sure that our students and our parents and our faculty feel connected in the school. So their sense of belongingness scores are really actually impressive to compare where they were at, but also a middle school environment. So we're happy with these numbers and continue to grow them. And I would say that Mrs. Snyder, Mr. Hanyon, and Mr. Evans spend a lot of time talking about how to make it an engaging environment where students want to be there and want to be actively involved in a part of the community. Any thoughts here? Mr. Acker.
I noticed the teacher response for students treat each other with respect is somewhat lower.
So that's an area that we're looking at of trying to understand what that means. So what are teachers seeing, what are their concerns, and that's something that we have to dig into a little bit more. So basically, these numbers show us where to focus our attention. And to me, that is where we need to focus our attention right now, of how are people engaging with each other, which is one of the reasons that we've partnered with Residence Education Consulting Company, because part of their work is going to be to build student leadership teams and kind of own the school and make the school a welcoming place for others and have that high level of respect between students, not just between student and teacher, but between students themselves. Yeah, absolutely. Mrs. Tierney?
So, yeah, to piggyback off of that, so the way you're going to approach that low is working with the students and the teachers to, number one, find out why they had that low percentage, and then you said you hired a consulting company to come in and help us to change that number?
So we have always looked at climate, right? So since I've been here, we've been looking at the climate, specifically at the middle school. The age developmentally is usually the quirkiest of ages, so to speak, and usually the time when students are much more focused on their social structure than anything else, and that sometimes kind of interferes with how they respond to their peers if their peers are not like-minded with them. So we spent a lot of time talking about climate, and the middle school administration has done a great job with it, but we really talked about bringing in professionals who this is their work, and that's what residence education is. This is their life's work, and all of their dissertation research is on getting people to be engaged in their school community in a positive way through social emotional learning. So part of that is working with teachers, and part of that is also working with students and helping them understand that the words they say matter, actions have consequences, and the impacts of that, and how to maybe disagree with somebody, but disagree with somebody in a respectful manner, or how to engage with one another more respectfully. Some of the behaviors at the middle school, and this is not Abington Heights specific, this would be middle school specific, are just desensitized. So some of the language that we use between peers that is hurtful and maybe body shaming or whatever you can think of is just become commonplace. And it's like, oh yeah, it's no big deal. Well, we as adults see that it's a big deal. They might not feel it's a big deal, which I think is why there's a disconnect with teachers seeing it so low, is some of the students are like, it's no big deal. I'm friends with him. He's just kidding. Whereas us and as adults, we're saying, no, actually that's internalized and that's hurtful and unkind. So we're going to be doing a lot of work with that. I'm really excited about that work and just to help create a more positive environment.
One more question on that. Will that be done during teacher and service time, or will it be done during classroom time with both? Like how will they be implementing
Sure.
to help the change in the environment?
So part of it's during professional development time. We have a day in October 14th and 15th. It'll be done at the middle school with middle school teachers. And then from there, we're going to break out a small cohort of middle school teachers, and 8 days during the school year, they're going to have coaching sessions, and then there'll be 3 additional days on top of that where they're going to be kind of teaching lessons. So they're going to be teaching their content. So maybe it's science, and how do you embed respect and cooperative learning and tolerance into your science lesson. And that's going to look differently in every classroom. So some teachers might say, I need you to teach a lesson and show me what it means. Other teachers might say, can you help me co-teach this lesson to see what it means? So we're really going to meet teachers where they're at, and we're going to do that. That's the morning part of those 8 days. The afternoon part of the days, we're going to kind of self-select 30 students who are leaders. And when we say leaders, leaders can lead for really good, positive, or sometimes they can lead for not so positive. We're going to be really, really selective and make sure that we're choosing all leaders in our building at the middle school and work with them on what leadership means and what behaviors are and how to help spread a more positive message and have a more respectful environment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, absolutely. Mrs. Henderson?
The one thing that like jumps out at me is the enjoys being in school. And then if we're looking at another number that's strikingly low, students treat each other with respect. I live with a middle schooler, I'm around middle schoolers often. I would say that those two things kind of go hand in hand. Enjoys being in school. I mean, I think if you ask any middle schooler anywhere if they like school, is there any way that we can talk to the kids directly to see, to maybe drill down into that question? 43 of them are saying they enjoy being in school. Why? I mean, but I think the huge upside of saying that they have friends at school, so obviously they feel, that they belong, they feel connected to someone, which I think is important. But I would just be interested to see what your average middle schooler would say, and why would they have selected that? Like, why is that number so low? And I think a lot of it has to do with respect, and I think a lot of it has to do with some of the behaviors that you just mentioned that have been normalized, the way that they treat each other. And I think, the education that they're receiving, I'm confident that that's going to help with it. But I would love to know more about that one, because that's, it's a low number. It's a low percentage of schools, but, I just didn't know if there was any way that we could kind of talk to the students more and get more specific input from them.
Yes and yes. So every time we do the survey and every time I present, I say to you, gosh, that question concerns me. And I fear that when we ask that question, it's like, do you enjoy being in school? And the students are like, well, does that mean when I'm in school, am I happy? Or does that mean, I'd rather be home playing video games? So I'd like to kind of reframe that question and quantify it a little bit better as we ask that question moving forward. The second prong of that is exactly what Mrs. Snyder said, is that to her is the most alarming number. She wants students to like school and be there. So she is doing a lot of work on building community, and One Book, One School is one of the ways that we're rolling that out to start the school year with community. But also, she has SOAR ambassadors, so SOAR is their positive behavior kind of mantra, and she has SOAR ambassadors for every grade that she meets with on a regular cadence and has these conversations of what do we like, what don't we like, how do we make improvements. So she's already started that work, but we're going to continue to dig in, so absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay. So this is a lot of numbers. So these are the elementary responses. We do not give these surveys to students below 5th grade, so we do not have student responses. This year, elementary principals, well, for the 23-24 school year, the elementary principals focused on more of a positive behavior focus with does good behavior get recognized in schools? So that necessarily wasn't a goal of belongingness, but it's still something that we focus on pretty strongly. And I would say typical of almost any school district that we see really high numbers, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 students and parents feel that they belong in that school community. And I would say that is something you would anticipate as being super positive.
How has this data changed year over year?
That's my last few slides, Mr. Acker. Great question.
Mr. Eckers.
So this is a question that pains me every time we ask it. So we ask a question, are you treated badly in school by your peers? And then if the students respond yes, then it's why. And every year that we do it, and I think Mr. Robeson, you've really helped us kind of frame this out, we keep digging in and we keep saying what. So this year we added socioeconomic status, body image, and then we added other as that they fill in their response. So if they click other, they have to specifically say why. Now, those numbers of other are super high, but as I read every response was something on the list. So it might have been because I have an IEP. Well, that goes under disability, but the student might not be connecting that. So the others are really embedded into the other choices. But from this, we can really gauge kind of where our concerning areas are and where students are not being as tolerant of welcoming or understanding of one another. Any questions or thoughts? Are we good to move on? All right, so facility responses. So this is always a confusing one as well. So we ask a question, is your school in good condition? They say yes. That's great. So that's 34% of parents believe that the high school's in good condition, 27 or 28% of the students feel that the high school's in good condition. Then from there, we say, what is not in good condition. So then the students and parents kind of tell us what they think is not in good condition. So the bathrooms, and if you've had any conversations with the high school this year, bathrooms were definitely an area, which is very reassuring to us that surveys do work, because what we knew was reinforced with this. So these are the concerning areas that students and parents see within the high school facility. Any questions there? Do you just want me to skip over the middle school? No, I'm kidding. So this is the middle school, and again, we would be able to anticipate. I think it's really sweet that 45% of the students believe that the middle school is in good condition.
That's all
It's
they
the only
know.
school they know.
That's all they know.
And they're making the best out of it. And then from there, you can see kind of what parents and students are responding as the concerning areas of whether it's a classroom setting, the bathroom, or flooring, things of that nature. Any questions there? So these are the elementary schools. Again, is your school in good condition? If not, then they kind of allude to where the problem areas and what the concerns are. And this really is helping our facility planning as we have conversations about renovations at the 5 schools or then the major addition at the middle school. This is helping to drive, we need to have good lighting and open hallways and large hallways and give kids more space. So this is all really helpful information. Any questions? Now, these are the learning responses. So this is from the high school, and these are kind of questions that we ask that help us understand. So the questions we really focus on here: high expectations for students. Does your teacher want your student to succeed? Does your teacher listen to your students? And then to us, the most important question on this entire survey is there at least one adult you trust in the building? And that is always our goal. We'd love 10, but it's always our goal. And more than 9 out of 10 students have that one adult to go to. We did relationship mapping this year to help us understand and identify that 1 out of 10 and make sure that they have one. So that's work that we continue to do. Any questions here? So this is the same response for the middle school. Again, I'm just going to bring you down to that one trusted adult. Although they may not feel that they enjoy being in school, and they may not feel that students always treat them respectfully, they do have a point person to go to and talk to, and they do feel comfortable with one of those adults. Questions? So again, we don't survey our students on this, but this is from our faculty and parents of just how the learning is. And I would say over and over again, you will see that our teachers have very high expectations for students, and truly excellence is the standard. Any questions here? We're almost done, Mr. Abdallah. We're almost done, I promise. Comparison data, Mr. Acker. So this is, we've done it for 3 years straight now, this survey. And you can kind of compare the numbers. So when you look at, I feel welcome in school, the high school focused on that, and we saw a significant gain. The middle school focused on it as well, and we saw some gains there. Enjoy being in school, we saw a small drop in both schools, but it's still a focus area. And then belongingness in schools was the goal at both schools, the middle school and the high school, and it went up considerably in both. So although it's not ideal where we want it to be, we also have to remember that a survey is one given day, depending on the mood, what was happening. It is only 1 point of contact with a student, so there's some variation in it, but we're still seeing an increase. And then parent responses, again, enjoys being in school, treated by respect with adults and students. Any questions here? And then these are the parent responses from the elementary school. And we anticipate that elementary responses are typically a little higher. It's small community schools, it's a smaller building. They feel more connected, which is typical for elementaries. Any other thoughts? Comparative responses for teachers between the middle school and the high school. We did not see anything incredibly alarming except for what hallway behavior is. And we really think at the middle school, the hallways is they don't feel safe because it's a little tight. And then again, teacher responses about their experience compared from year to year. Very happy for Mrs. Leonard. You know, Dr. Fraunfelker always says that it's 85 degrees and sunny at Newton Ransom. I think it's pretty nice at Newt Waverly as well. I know it was a long presentation. I know it was a lot of numbers and a lot of charts. I just thank you for this. I thank you for the time to kind of present and dig into it. There's a lot of things that we do that's important, but this climate survey really drives a lot of the decisions that we make and where we focus our energy. So thank you.
Dr. Vitale. So from all the data, as you've looked through it and crunched it now, where do you feel the administration needs to work?
I think we need to work on student interactions with one another, of making sure that students are respectful and kind and offer each other dignity all day long. So I think across the board, that's where we should be focusing our energy, and I would say that that's kind of where we're going from here. Mr. Robson.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much, because this is very helpful. I mean, it's descriptive. It tells us kind of the story, but it doesn't tell us why or... So there's just a couple comments that I had. When you look at so many factors and slices of the data, sometimes a number will pop out that really... And so the focus is on one particular thing, and as a result of trying to address that and focus so hard on it, it could impact negatively the other areas. So I would hope that, and I don't think you're going to do this, is just be reactive to a bad number and then really focus on it, which sounds good, but in doing so could negatively impact other things. So I was thinking about, what are some of the things just in general that could help across the board? And I think you touched on a couple of them. I think one of them might be, and I know we're doing this with the committee, but establishing clear policies and just behavioral expectations, just in general, so people know what the bar is, promoting more of the social aspects of learning, like awareness and empathy. We talked about the staff training. There were a couple others that I wrote down here. Parent and community engagement. I know that's a big thing. We have a lot of things. People are busy. But that's something that I think that encompasses all of the areas that we talked about. And regular assessment and feedback. And not meaning tests. I don't think we need no more tests. But just maybe focus groups on some of the issues that students feel are out there, because we've seen that it does work. For example, the dress code. And I think we're going to have a similar approach to the use of cell phones. So I know it's extra work, but getting the students involved to define the problem as they see it, and also come up with solutions, and then have them assess, what they're working on. So I'm not telling you what to do. I fear sometimes, because I see this in industry, there's a problem number, and you focus on the number, and then it negatively impacts other areas. And we just want to stay away from that. But I think the things that you mentioned were on my list.
Yeah. Okay.
So very good job. And, we wouldn't be able to have like this fruitful discussion if we didn't have and look, surveys are not perfect. You could always improve the questions. But I know that's what you've done over the years. So I thought you did a very good job.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So when I look at these numbers, I almost take it as we do benchmarking for our students. It's taking a temperature. And then when your temperature is high, that's when you start to look at other areas. So when we see a high number, it's not like we need to do something now about it. It really is that we're really calculated and intentional with talking to our faculty, talking to our students of what does this mean, help us understand the experience that you're having and what made this. And then from there, doing action plans. So absolutely, I completely agree. Thank you. Mrs. Henderson.
I have, Mr. Ripson brings up a good point. So would you say of the behavior referrals and probably the biggest things that our Dean of Students and Assistant Principals and Administration at the middle school speaks with students about, would you say that there's a parallel between those referrals and what is reflected in the data in terms of respect and the way that students are treating one another?
Anecdotally, without having the behavior data in front of me, I would say that a majority of the middle school referrals are interpersonal conflict.
Okay, so that sounds like it's right on with what the data's showing and that what Renaissance Education is going to be attacking. And then some of the things that Mr. Robeson did point out, he made some good points. Would you say that those things would be captured in what we're doing for PBIS, like having those expectations spelled out for the students?
So the student handbooks, which hopefully will get approved tonight, we spent an entire summer last year developing a stronger code of conduct that is K to 12, although discipline consequences will change depending on your level, but making sure that the expected behaviors are K to 12 and the language doesn't change. And then also this year, what we did was we did kind of a deep dive into PBIS and also saying if this is the expected behavior, this is what it means and define it. And then if this is a negative behavior, define that. So what's the difference between fighting, a minor altercation, and physical aggression? But helping to define that as well. So I think all the things you're saying is the work we're doing. Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, and there's one thing I forgot in my curriculum committee report, trying to get through it as fast as I could. The parent workshops, would you mind speaking for a moment about those?
Absolutely. So I was actually disappointed you didn't bring it up, but I didn't want to make your curriculum committee longer. So as part of this climate survey, we asked parents what they would come to. So what topics do they want us to focus on? And we have worked as an administrative team to develop a parent workshop series that will be a certain day of every month. I don't have it at the top of my mind right now. I believe it's the last Tuesday of every month at the high school from 6 to 7 p.m. There will be childcare, there will be food provided, and what we want to do is make sure that parents know that last Tuesday of every month, there's going to be some topic. The topics were selected based on what the parents responded of what they want information on. It's everything from social media one-on-one, 101, to how to get kind of interpersonal conflict with students, how to deal with academic stress and pressures that students are dealing with, how to cope just with life in general, and just giving parents giving them more tools in their toolbox so that they can do their daunting task of parenting in 2024 a little bit more effectively with a more informed decision-making. So there will be lots of information coming out about that. It will start in the end of October.
Perfect, thank you.
Those workshops are by grade level.
So what we will do is, we want parents just to get used to that this is the expected date and time. So when they come, there will be a general session, so maybe some background information, and then depending on the content or what our topic is for the day, we may break out into grade spans. So it might be an elementary focus in one room, it might be a high school focus in another, depending on what the topic is. Absolutely.
You want me to read through them real quick? I have it up here.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, so last Tuesday every month from 6 to 7 at the high school. September will be the building curriculum nights. October will be schools and student safety and social media one-on-one. There'll also be an event for Title I parent events. November is understanding and addressing mental health and managing stress. January is dealing with behaviors. February, student interpersonal relationships. March, student study skills. And April is an open kind of, maybe a la carte, or maybe you need like a part 2 of any of those things. But I just wanted to reiterate what Dr. Vitale said is these topics came directly from the parent surveys. So I think the hardest part was probably deciding the order of them because,
There were 12
it's
different
like picking your
orders.
favorite child, so.
Correct, of which was most important in the beginning of the year. And we didn't want something that in March to seem like it was less important. They're all equally important. We just had to kind of prioritize them.
Great, well done, thank you.
Thank you.
And how is that advertised?
It will be advertised from me of different kind of flyers, and then at the building level, they will support it as well.
And when did you say the first one was?
The first one is October 29th. school and student safety.
And are they in the same location each time?
Yeah, so
school.
it's literally going to be the same location, same time, the last Tuesday of every month, except for September and December. September, there's a lot of back-to-school events, and December, we didn't think people would come out with the shortened month and the holidays.
And then babysitting will be provided by high school students.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, so childcare will be provided from our high school students, and then food will be provided from Mets.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting. Our next topic of business is to approve the treasurer's and the bills report. And Dr. Schaefer, our treasurer's not here, our business manager's not here, so I'm hoping you can fill in. Or should we?
Take their word for it.
How about if we do this in the next meeting?
Yeah, we'll do that. I believe we can approve it at the next one.
Is there a niner in there?
have it right up here.
Oh, you do? Can you?
read the amounts,
Okay.
if you bear with me.
Oh,
Okay.
Mrs. Toonan, that would be great.
July, yep.
Treasurer's report for July 2024. They started with a cash balance of $17,963,210.94. Local revenues totaled $769,051.14, with a total monthly revenue of $19,297,184.45, with a total cash balance of $13,901,046.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. On the motion, let's hope there are no questions. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hillebrand,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mrs. Tierney, thank you for pitching in.
Thank you.
I'm
Okay,
I'm
Dr.
glad I
Schaefer.
had my reading glasses.
Mr. Acker, ask the board consider a motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Acker, ask the board consider a motion to approve the 24-25 non-athletic EDRs.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the August 2024 volunteer list.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
And Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the addendum to the Acorns to Oaks Consulting LLC agreement to extend services until October 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Acker, ask the board consider a motion to approve the contract between Abington Heights School District and Nicholas Bus for 2024-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdullah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Acker, ask the board consider a motion to approve the transportation contract between Abington Heights School District and Jessica Gard, a private contractor, to begin on September the 4th, 2024, to transport children to Summit Christian Academy.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Oh, wait, I went, yep.
Yes.
And Mr. Acker.
Yes.
Mr. I could ask the board, consider a motion to approve the retirement of policy 248, unlawful harassment, due to its redundancy with policy 103, discrimination, Title IX, sexual harassment, passed in May 2024. This is at the recommendation of the Pennsylvania School Boards Association.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. I could ask the board, consider a motion to approve the agreement between Abington Heights School District and the Chester County Intermediate Unit for services rendered by the Brandywine Virtual Academy.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
Mr. Eckert, I looked at the attachment in there, and it looked like a template that was blank. I mean, it did list the activities, but did it have, was it supposed to have amounts or quantities?
So it's incredibly flexible depending on the need of students. So as long as we have one student, we have an agreement there. And right now, we're still talking with families about whether they're going to return to brick and mortar or whether they're going to stay in this virtual academy. So I didn't want to put numbers there because it can change.
It's a option, an alternative to online charter,
Yes,
but it's an Abington Heights.
but it's an Abington Heights run program, correct?
Wonderful. Roll call, please.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Mr. Ackert, ask the board consider a motion to approve the service agreement between Abington Heights School District and New Story Schools for the 24-25 school year, along with a tuition rate of $296 per day for students 42 and 43A.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion? Roll call?
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
Mr.
6-0.
Ackert, ask the board consider a motion to approve the professional service agreement between Abington Heights School District and Noble Brand Group.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
Yes, I have some questions on this. I'm looking at the agreement, the service agreement, and it is 2 newsletters per year for a price of $8,000 per issue. Brainstorming podcast compensation for $500 a podcast. What is the goal of hiring this consulting company? I am all in favor of as much communication as we can possibly give to our families. We have 2 school board meetings monthly. We have an opportunity for a superintendent's report to distribute any information. I'm all in favor of the most communication. I'm struggling with the prices of this. I'm struggling with not quite understanding what the goal is, and if there's another way of dispersing a newsletter, possibly a letter from the superintendent on our beautiful new website. I just think that this is a little bit of extravagant at this time. We've been hiring a lot of consultants, and I just am going to hold off on voting on this. I'm going to vote no for this.
Okay.
Sure. You know, I do hear you, Ms. Tierney. I would respectfully lean into that. I think it's anything but extravagant. I have, speaking to professional service agreements, and I have, no problem talking about this publicly, but I believe professional service agreements and some of these contracts are not only a cost-effective way to drive efficiencies towards outcomes, but I think within Abington Heights, we've seen cost savings. For instance, we came in with a very large deficit. I came to the board with some consultants around scheduling. We were able to more strategically develop schedules to support our students and programs. I've also consistently maintained that to the largest extent possible, that we invest in our schools via our teachers. You know, I've been asked, do we need some more central office and that, and yeah, we would. However, not to the detriment of our children. Sure, many school districts now have communication specialists, which in this professional services agreement would be for an amount not to be more than around $35,000. That number, if you hired somebody, may be double or even triple. What we know from our surveys, and as we talk about consultants, we worked with technology, we had to make an investment into our new platform for our website. That did cost us. And through some of our surveys, we know that parents prefer and go to social media. Also, throughout our facility planning process, I've spoken with a lot of community members who would tell me that they're happy and would appreciate more communication and understand how difficult that can be. Last year, Ms. Karen and myself tried to lift by ourselves the newsletter, and it was a monumental task, and it took a lot of hours. And at some point, you have to say, are we better off contracting this out? Contracting out also, in my opinion, is better for the organization because it gives you a little bit of a booster, right? So maybe I learn a little bit through the process, and I'm able to pick it up, and that's in contrast to hiring somebody. So if you hire somebody full-time, you know, it's really difficult to remove that position. So, you know, when I think about all of the things that we're doing and what we could be doing more of, think about communicating. I wrote down a couple things about like our facility planning process. Without a doubt, we're going to have on September 4th our architects here showing the new 90 square foot addition and high renovation at the middle school. And there will be community members that, did I say 90?
You said just 90. Yes.
90, yeah, it's very small school. It's for Ewoks. It's a 90,000 square foot addition, but we will get questions about why is it just a half a school? And yet the board has spent a year and a half talking about this, right? So we can do a much better job communicating that, talking about our academic programs, talking about our extracurricular programs, our community outreach, the work our students are doing inside and outside the schools, our faculty and staff, and just, and as I think about our climate survey, it sounds trite, but it is like, you hear a lot of like, perception is reality. And a lot of that is driven around communication. I mean, I really did sit up here last time and 3 other times before telling everybody that we have not sold the pit. Yet, I continue to hear that the pit is sold, as if we don't work here. And I actually did send the link off and told, start at minute 23 of our last meeting. I emphatically say that we did not sell the pit, and I'm not sure if we own the land. But that's on me. That's a communication, and I do need assistance, putting that out there and providing some more clarity for our community, and then building my skill set. Additionally, when we were talking about this survey, the board has invested a lot of funds and resources, rightfully so, in school safety. And we've talked about it, but I haven't been really able to push it out. So when you see numbers about kids and teachers feeling safe in schools, they should feel a lot safer now that we have, I don't know, close to 100 cameras all over the buildings, and that we work with all of our police and first responders to provide them access to that. So when responding to an incident, they can pull up and see real time where we're at. We're making significant investments into all of our facilities, and we're now able to see if there's anything like vandalism and things like that. We don't see a lot of it, but at times our properties do get vandalized, and we never had any record of it. But most importantly is that safety and communicating that out, and all the changes that we've made around all of our facilities. So I don't feel that this is extravagant. I feel as if this is an investment that will support us in achieving our outcomes, specifically at a time when we're investing close to $100 million in the next 7 to 10 years in all of our facilities. And platforms that I need to gain more familiarity with and reach to our different constituents. I've got kids in high school, and they use Instagram. They don't go to websites. That group doesn't go to Facebook. So I need to meet the kids and the parents where they're at. So, sorry, that's my long-winded answer to that. Sorry.
That's fine. How are the parents getting the surveys?
Through School Messenger.
School Messenger, okay. And how do the parents receive the newsletters, the weekly newsletters from all the administrators?
School Messenger.
Okay, thanks.
I'd like to make a couple comments on this. I think we've all talked about the need to communicate with the community, not just the school community, not just the parents. We represent the whole community, as well as the school. We are embarking on a large project that's committing the community to many years of support, and I think we've all talked about the need to communicate that. Certainly, there are lots of ways to do that. I think you need to start. You need to start some way, and then you need to see what the result is and say, okay, this was a good path, it worked well. Or maybe we say, okay, we still need to communicate, we need to pivot and maybe bring someone in-house. But I think the important thing is to start. So I think, again, I could argue that there are other companies or vehicles and so on that might be able to do this, but I think the important thing is we move forward on this. So I'm in favor of it. Other comments?
My only question is, because I know we talked about this before, just wanted to make sure it's the same. Who is Noble Brand Group?
It's a Betsy Curtin.
Good, I know Betsy well.
Yeah. And we did work with our HR department. This was posted on Indeed. This is the type of job that we have got statistics and things like that where we'll get more favorable outcomes when we post on Indeed in contrast to some other positions that we wouldn't. We had 3 candidates apply, and Ms. Karam and I interviewed everybody.
Okay. Other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hillebrand,
Yes.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
No.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
Mr. Acker, I'd ask the board consider a motion to approve the updated Abington Heights Elementary, Middle School, and High School 2024-25 student handbooks.
So moved.
Second.
On the motion?
A couple questions on the handbooks. How are they, how are the parents reading them with the students, and is there a sign-off for every handbook?
Yes, so this year, we're actually going to roll out a digital sign-off so that we're not printing them. They'll be available in print if anybody needs it, but it'll all go through our student information system, and it'll be logged there that students have read and parents have read.
Do they have to sign off that they read it, and the student sign off too?
So it'll go through the student information system, they'll get a link, and then they'll check that they have read it,
They-
yes.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yep.
thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Robeson?
Yes.
Mrs. Tierney?
Yes, and thank you for your hard work and redoing it and adding all the changes and all. Thank you.
Yeah, the building principals did a great job with it.
Yeah, yep. Yes.
Mr. Abdallah?
Yes.
Mrs. Henderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Hillebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Acker?
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Next part of the agenda is information. Is there any informational matters or unfinished business? Any new business? Could I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Mr. Abdullah.